You're listening to the Straight to Video podcast with Rob Lane.
How you doing? Everything good? Welcome along to the Straight to Video podcast. On today's show, I'm going to let you eavesdrop on a chat I had with an old friend of mine who's been playing the same underground rock scene as myself since like the early to mid 2000s in and around Nottingham. Before that though, my mate Stuart Corden has been treading the boards since the mid 80s. This guy is a trooper for sure. I met Stu when he was playing bass and singing for the band The Plastics, and not until recently did I realise the music history Stu had, and I really wanted to find out more. I always knew he was a massive Kiss fan, but other than Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2, he grew up listening to live albums by people like Cheap Trick and Ian Gillan, and their Live at the Budokan LPs. Little did Stu know back then that in just a few years he would be on a plane to Japan himself to play that very same venue. It's quite a wild, dream come true story for sure, and I loved hearing all about it. Stuart now plays in a great kick-ass rock and roll band called Blitz. I think Stu himself would describe Blitz much like he does his favourite band Kiss, as a real Marmite band. You're either going to love it or hate it. Blitz are unashamedly great, catchy 80s style hard rock, and as Stu talks about in our chat, when you've been doing this stuff for so long, you kind of just want to get back to the music that makes you happy, and it really, really shows with the fun and energy he shows in this great new band of his. Blitz are also releasing their very own Christmas single called I Believe in Christmas, which I'll play for you at the end of our chat, and proceeds from sales will be going to cancer research. You can find all the information on the band's Facebook page at Blitz Rock Band UK, or through their Bandcamp page, which is Blitz UK on the Bandcamp site. I'll also share it on the Straight to Video social media pages too, so if you're following them, you can find it there. I hope you enjoy hearing about Stu's journey because it's a fun one, and please check out the Blitz Christmas song at the end of our chat. So, here we go with my Straight to Video talk with Blitz singer and bass player Stuart Corden.
How you doing?
Hey up, mate.
Hey up, dude.
How you been anyway? I ain't seen you for probably about a couple of years, I reckon.
Basically working and surviving, and I went through that thing where I got a bit disenchanted with the whole music thing. Not music, but being in a band. Yeah. And then I kind of had a rethink, and I just said I just want to get back to music I loved as a kid. And I had my angry years, and I just didn't want to be angry anymore. There's too many young guys who are great at being angry. I'm going to burst a vein at my age. I can't keep doing that. So I just wanted to get back to the music I loved when I was very first started doing it all. I just want to get back to that. And that's what I do. I do it now. I'm lucky enough now that I work with a really nice pair of lads, and I'm happy, It's good.
It's weird once you take out all the stress and all the worry and all that kind of thing.
I've always liked to do things well. So when I like to work with good musicians and do good stuff. And I just thought I wanted to get away from the road I was going down a bit. I didn't like it, But I don't think I was being really honest with myself, And where's this band? I think I've been a lot more honest in one respect, paying homage to the music I love, really. I'm not trying to be anything I'm not. Yeah. Although, amazingly enough, everybody else will look at it and say, you're trying to be. I mean, it's what it is. Rock music is riddled in cliches. I love it for that, you know. I want to do that. I'm not trying to get away from that. I think I've got back to, right back to who I was years ago and what I was doing right back when I was a kid. I've gone right back to that, really, that I just want to be entertaining and play catchy songs, really.
So to throw it right back, I've always known you as like one of the biggest Kiss fans I know. Were they the band that kind of sparked everything off, or was there anybody before that?
When I was 11 years old, from a mining town, Mansfield, I was just finding my legs with the music scene. Punk was just hitting big, actually. Well, I went into W.H. Smith's, and there was an ABBA album and there was Kiss Destroyer. And I remember thinking, these guys look crazy. And I remember taking the album up to the lady and saying, yeah, I want this. And I remember her saying, you sure you don't want ABBA? I was like, no, I want this.
Had you heard them before the point, or was it just the artwork?
It was just the artwork. I mean, I loved Marvel comics even way back then. And I just thought, these guys look like superheroes and it looks a fun place to escape to.
Mm-hmm.
I've always judged Kiss like that. My tastes have grown and I've got older and I'm into everything from funk stuff to hardcore stuff. But I've always thought what Kiss were great at was capturing your imagination. Yeah. And it got me playing an instrument, from 12 years old. What
was you planning on buying when you went to W.H. Smith's that day?
Everybody was buying like the Stranglers and the Pistols were just kind of kicking. It's hard to imagine when Destroyer came out, the Pistols were kicking. And I was a kid and I like a lot of punk stuff, but to be totally honest, I just thought Kiss were more glamorous. And I do like things that are kind of entertaining and visually a bit more. Although I do. I mean, one of my favourite bass players regarding sound would be Jean-Jacques Burnell from the Stranglers. He's got a great tone. He's a great player. But I just thought Kiss were mysterious and kind of cool, although you couldn't be further from the truth, really.
Did you get it on vinyl or cassette?
I got it on vinyl. I still own that.
So what did you think when you put that needle down and you'd not heard them before?
If you've ever heard Destroyer, it starts with a little intro where a guy's getting in a car. It's very theatrical. Bob Ezrin, the Alice Cooper guy, doing all that. And I just thought, what is this? What the fuck's this? It took me somewhere else. And because when I first got it didn't tell you that Gene Simmons was the guy with the tongue and Paul Stanley was the guy with the pout. You had to kind of figure all that out for yourself or go back and listen to the album. So I bought Destroyer, and then straight after that I bought Kiss Alive 1, which are two of my favourite albums. Really, oh God, Kiss Alive 1, you just can't get better than that. But you just can't.
You're almost transported there, aren't you?
I was there.
That arena with the picture and everything like that.
I was there in 1976, pulling it out. And Kiss were really great at putting like the leaflets in and the posters in and all those little kind of bits that hooked you in and really, really got you, I don't think a band's never, ever done it as good as that, really. I got a lot of jip for being a Kiss fan.
Really?
Oh, God, yeah. The odd thing was my brothers were listening to, who were older than me, they were listening to like Deep Purple and Sabbath, and I loved all that stuff. But I also liked Kiss and the New York Dolls and Alice Cooper and Men in Makeup, they weren't deemed as serious music,
Was Kiss kind of like the gateway into that kind of music, other than what you'd heard from your brothers?
Yeah. I mean, I loved Deep Purple because my brothers used to go out and I used to get their albums out, get the old headphones with the curly leads, the big chunky headphones, and I'd sit there, with the album covers out in front of me. I just remember listening to Made in Japan by Deep Purple. I just loved it, especially that album. I just loved all that element of it taking you out of yourself and these guys, almost godlike musicians. I mean, you got Ian Gillan singing like what? Just incredible. But I never put any barriers, I think, and I've carried on like that. And I can listen to Metallica and I can listen to Skindred and I can listen to all these great bands. And at the same time, I like Frank Sinatra and I like, I just think a good tune is a good tune, I don't really care. I'm a bit more prone personally. I like things, I like presentation and I like a dramatic entertainment, I love Prince as well. I'm a massive Prince fan.
Everybody loves Prince, man. There's something wrong if nobody doesn't like Prince.
Exactly. And he's another guy when he came along, almost Kiss-like. I don't know if you know anything about Prince, but when he started off, his first two albums, he didn't look like the guy with the big purple coat on and the coiffed hair. He looked nothing like that. He was a kind of soul singing guy, a little bit kind of quiche. And what happened was when a lot of the big UK, Adam Ant was the guy he looked at. He saw Adam Ant and he thought, I need to present this differently. So he got a band together, even though he's not a band, it's all him writing everything. He got a band together and he put the look together and the presentation together. And if you listen to Purple Rain and then you listen to his first two albums, it's a totally different thing. He sounds like Earth, Wind and Fire early on. Then suddenly he becomes, he becomes Prince, And again, that presentation, that thinking about how I'm going to look on stage and how I'm putting a show on, I just always loved that,
How did things change when you started seeing bands live? At what point did you see Kiss live? Was it fairly soon after, or did you have to wait a while?
I'm from Mansfield, which is like a small mining town, and as you know, and my first bands I snuck in to see, it's called the Palace Theatre now, but it used to be called the Civic Theatre, and they used to put bands on. And the first bands I ever saw as a kid, one was a band called Limelight. I don't know if you ever remember Limelight. Probably not. Then there was Saracen. Remember Saracen?
I remember that name.
Saracen. I'm going back now. And getting the rock and roll time machine. We're going back. And then there was a band called Savage. with Andy Dawson. Andy Dawson, who well, there'll be another part of that, this story later on, but Andy went on to do some touring, and he ended up, his band Savage supported Metallica on some gigs in Europe and stuff, and they did quite well. In fact, Metallica covered a Savage song called Let It Loose.
Wow, is that true?
That's all true. Ain't no lies here. It's all true. So, and Andy's a local guy. Like me, he lives like 5 minutes from me. So we kind of knew each other in the early days. There was a band called Race Against Time, who then went on to become Hell.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. We did some gigs with Hell. In fact, we did the gig at the Civic Theatre, which was the Civic Theatre, which is now the Palace Theatre down in Mansfield. And Hell supported my band, Masquerade.
There you go.
I've got the poster to prove it.
What age was you when you started going to these gigs?
I'd have been about 13.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No problems getting into the gigs and stuff like that?
No, back then things were a little bit different. You know, you'd get in and the big guys at the bar, and you'd be just sat there with your mates. And great place, the Palace Theatre at Mansfield. But we used to see all the bands. I saw Witchfind there on their first album. Iron Maiden played there. Praying Mantis played there. It was a great place. It really was. It was just down the road, and it was a fantastic place to see a band, and that's where I kind of caught the bug.
Who'd you go with? Was there a bunch of you?
There was a bunch of us. I'm a short guy, and when I was a kid, I kind of got bullied a lot. I was thinking the mouth, but I got bullied a lot at the school. I went to an all boys. I went to a grammar school, all boys school, and which got a little boring really quick in your teenage years. So I started to pal around with. There's another school called Garibaldi School, and everybody at the Garibaldi were rock fans and metalheads.
Nice. I bet you was like, yes, this is where I want to be.
They adopted me, and I became. I'm still friends with all these guys on Facebook. Actually, they're a really cool bunch of guys, and we all hung out and we all listened to metal. I wish I could show you the pictures. I was looking through today because it's jarred a lot of things coming on the show. And I'm picturing me when I'm no word of a lie, I'm 14 and I've got all this hair down to my waist. I'm more like Neil fucking Young, to be honest. I've got this horrendous Jesus haircut. I walked around with the denim jacket on, with the patches on, AC/DC. And I remember the day Bon Scott died, and everybody, all my mates and that in Gary, we made black armbands out of T-shirt sleeves. That is a true story. It all started off like that. A really healthy, cool rock scene locally. You've
seen these gigs at the Civic, but what would you say was like your first big one? Well, I guess it was pretty big gigs at the Civic. How many people was it holding?
I think it's at the most, you've got about 250, 300 maybe.
So when was the next step up into like a couple of thousand?
My first real gig would have been, you know what I'm going to say, it was Kiss. And it was Stafford Bingley Hall. It was on, I think it was my 17th birthday, 16 maybe.
What tour was that then?
It was the Lick It Up tour.
Right.
With Vinnie Vincent. They used to have the Sony Walkmans that you could get the tapes in and you could record on them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to stick them down the front of my trousers, and I used to bootleg the gig before YouTube and all this gear. That's the only way you could really listen to your bands, So I've got this big drawer, and it's just full of these tapes that I had stuck down the front of my trousers. I've got Donington as well with 84, with Roth and everything. And I used to stick this tape, and I used to get back, and I used to put it in the tape player, and all you could hear with me and a load of my mates singing along to Kiss songs.
Like shit.
Like some pissed up idiots.
How many times did that happen? Like, damn it, I've done it again. Shit.
Will you all shut the fuck up? And then they Kiss are just piling into it, and we're like singing away. But great memories. The lady I'm with now, I'm still married to, I took her to one of these gigs, and I got the bootleg I was telling her about. I got this bootleg, and we're coming out of the gig, and there used to be it's called Bailey's Coaches, and they used to take you to the gig and they used to bring you back on a coach. Can you remember Bailey's trip? Fantastic.
Well, I can remember Wayheads. I don't remember Bailey.
Yeah, same thing. I remember I took her there on a gig, and I played her the tape, and I said, "Can you remember this when we were kids?" And you can hear my now wife saying, "It's just like you. This is." She don't speak like that, but I said we should have come, and I waited for the encore. Why did we wait for the encore? Because it's a gig. So nothing's changed. All these years later.
How was it seeing Kiss though? Because that'd be like the first tour without makeup, right?
Yeah. I missed the Dynasty tour, so I saw them without the makeup and everything. And you know what? I'm such a Kiss nugget anyway. I absolutely loved it. I really did. And I thought Stanley was amazing. And
with Kiss, it's like two voices, two totally distinct voices. And to hear them coming over a massive PA, either one,
it's just
like,
great.
Holy
it's just
shit.
Great. And you can't believe, how hard those guys work when they're on that stage. They work so hard. I've got to shake the Kiss thing. But it's true. they made such an impact on me as a kid,
There's only a few bands that do it, though, isn't it? Everyone who's like a massive Kiss fan is like, feels the same kind of way.
Yeah, and it did inspire a lot of kids like myself to pick up a guitar, and start with my friends jamming and writing your own stuff, and it all comes from that. And no matter what we think, are they amazing musicians? Are they this? Are they that? Probably not. But what they are, they get together and they form that certain kind of stink, and you either like it or you don't. Like most bands. Mm-hmm. You either love it or you hate it. Marmite, definitely.
So you say you're used to bootleg all your gigs. Have you always been like a big record collector or merch collector or anything?
Yeah. I've hung on to a lot of stuff from when I was a kid regarding like the rock thing. All my bootleg tapes I've still got. Everything from Motley Crue, Y&T, Kiss. Yeah, I've got some strange stuff in there as well. All kind of Sisters of Mercy and anything. I kept all that, and along with that, I kept a lot of the merch and stuff and programs.
Yeah,
it's nice to have that cool stuff and hang on to it.
It's an instant time capsule, isn't it? Especially
I just love
tour
that.
programs as well. Once you open it up again, it's like everything just floods back. It's like wow.
Yeah. And everything was so innocent back then, and there were no CGI and touching up photos, and it was all what it was what it was to a degree, I suppose. But that's what I love about it. Yeah, I mean, I used to collect way before the Marvel thing was massive. From being about 9, I used to collect Marvel comics. I've got a massive collection in my attic of Marvel comics from, God knows when, I just carried on doing it and never shook it.
Where'd you used to buy them from?
Way back when I was a kid, I just used to pick them up from like the news agents and stuff. But as I got more specialised in it, as I got older. Later on, when we talk about the band I'm in now, Blitz, the guy who does some of the art, we use 2 artists. We use a guy called Dave Hurst and Richie Adam Reynolds, and they're both big comic book geeks, and I know them through that world, you see.
Right.
Richie owns a place in Mansfield called Ground Zero, which is a comic book shop. Again, that's how I got working with him, and I said, I want the artwork to be, blah, blah, And we sat and talked about the comic book artists like Jack Kirby and Neil Adams and stuff that we love. We can talk artists and stuff like that, and it's a good connection point for getting the Blitz thing done. Really, it all ties together. The stuff I kind of liked as a kid and where I'm getting to now is all kind of tied together like that.
And I say it's just you're like not worrying about what other people think, just going with what makes you happy. And that's coming across as one of probably the most genuine thing you've done, what I've known you from doing. So Kiss inspired you to like, right, I want to have a crack at being in a band. Was it guitar or bass first?
Well, what happened was I wanted to play guitar. So being at an old boys' school, I went to see the music teacher, and it was like classical guitar lessons, and I've got a finger missing on my right hand. Yeah, you see that. It got chopped off on the door when I was a kid, believe it or not.
Right.
So she said, you'll never play classical because you need the full span of both hands and you've got a finger missing. So I was like, ugh. There's a teacher there called Dave Taylor, and he took me to one side and he said, she's talking shit, mate. Well, you can play, and
let me tell you about Tony Iommi.
Yeah, which not a lot of people knew that story back then. And he taught me how to do it. And I ended up taking my grade 2 classical, and I passed my grade 2 classical.
Awesome.
I learned how to overcompensate with my stubby finger.
You got like 2 little fingers.
Yeah. I just do that. And so when I kind of did that as a big, fuck off to my first music teacher. Yeah. And from then, I thought I want to be in a band, I want to play, meet some other musicians and crack on. I was lucky to have a friend who wanted to play drums, so we got a drummer. We got a singer and a guitar who play guitar. We jammed underneath the DIY shop in Clipston.
It's weird, like every band that starts up now, they'll be straight into a rehearsal room, but like every other band, like you're jamming upstairs in a pub or fucking anywhere you could get. Can we come and rehearse? We
were in a cellar, mate. I remember rehearsing in a cellar when I was 15 and it was snowing outside. And it was like, can you play the bass line to All Along the Watchtower? Yeah, dun, 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 dun. You're in, So
you had switched to bass then?
I had to switch to bass because everybody wanted a bass player.
We're smart, you see. We're smart.
It's because it's the worst job. Nobody sleeps with a bass player, Rob, except for your wife. You know that. Nobody wants the bass player.
Where'd you find your first bass?
I bought it's a CMI. It was a Fender copy, and it was in an electronics store in a Mansfield music shop. And my dad bought it me for Christmas.
Nice.
So then, of course, bass, it's just basically the first 4 strings. And I could get in any band then, really. So I ended up doing all sorts of things. And first thing I was in, we jammed Doctor Doctor by UFO, some Hendrix, and a bit of Kiss. And, a lot of American bands, the American bands always seemed a bit more glamorous and a bit more interesting for me personally.
Because I've always seen you as a really proficient bass player. Did you pick it up very fast? Was like the classical guitar background helping with it?
That's what helps. And if you've ever seen me play, I kind of play it like a guitar more than anything. And that's because I use my fingers. And you get a really good connection, I think, when you play with your fingers. I know you're a plec player. I just personally, because I learned that way, even when I play guitar now, I still use my fingers. I don't think I own one plec. I don't really use them very much at all.
Is it one of mine?
It's probably, it says Rob Lane, Teenage Casket. That's what it says on it.
Who was you looking up to as a bass player? Was Gene Simmons an obvious one to look up to? Because he's very underrated, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, he's got all those walking bass lines. He's very Paul McCartney. The thing about Kiss, where I think the musicality does come in with Stanley and Simmons, is they were very influenced by the Beatles. So if you listen to the harmonies they do, a lot of the arrangements they do, and especially his bass playing, there's a lot of musicality there, and I don't think a lot of people pick up on that with Kiss sometimes.
I think it really showed on the acoustic album they did.
Yeah, that Unplugged thing. He's a great bass player. If we had YouTube back then, I think what a lot of people would learn is that Kiss were probably just as good as a lot of those 70s bands that were out there doing it. I mean, for my sins, and I don't share his views on anything else, but I'm a big Ted Nugent fan. And that's because when those big live albums were coming out, Double Live Gonzo by Ted Nugent, that was like that and Kiss Alive and Thin Lizzy Live and Dangerous and Cheap Trick Live at the Budokan. There was some great live albums back in the day.
What was the kind of first band which kind of, not necessarily started doing stuff, but where you felt like, right, this is what I've been aiming to do? Because you're in a band called Masquerade. Was there anything before that?
No, really. I joined Masquerade when I was 18.
Yeah.
And before that, I was just hanging out with people. Masquerade, we were lucky enough to go out with Jack Bruce. I did 5 gigs with Jack Bruce all over the country. And he had a guy called Bruce Gary from the Knack on drums. And he had a guy called Clem Clemson on guitar, who was this big blues guy. The thing I remember most about that tour was being a kid was Jack Bruce is a great musician, but he was one miserable Scotsman. And all the rest of the band used to say it as well. And the real funny thing about that was you had Bruce Gary, this American guy, really loud all the time, tapping his sticks on everything, walking in the gig, hi man, hi guys, talking to everybody. Yeah. Then Jack Bruce would come in, trolling behind him. I fucking hate that Yank. Do I hate him? I fucking hate him. And that's what. And we were in a lift once going up. I think it was it Blackburn's Queen's Hall or something? We were going up in this lift to the gig, to like where the changing rooms were. And I always remember Bruce Gary with his drumsticks, and there was a bell in the list, and he went ding 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 ding. Everybody in the lift went, my Sharona. And Jack Bruce just went, oh, fuck's sake,
How did you get that tour then?
We were lucky enough to be managed by a lady called Sue Porter, and she had a lot of pull. And she knew a lot of people. And there used to be a thing, I'm trying to think who the guy was on Knott's Radio who did the rock show. We were on there loads and loads of times. And we were just lucky to be kids and keen, like, when you're really young. And we just had that fire, really. She saw it. She happened to talk to a guy called Johnny Moon who worked at Radio Trent at the time. And he had a contact with the people who were working for Jack Bruce. And he said, I know this young band, blah, blah, blah. Got a demo tape to him. And Jack Bruce said, yeah, these sound all right. And that's how we got on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like, what, 84, 85?
Around there, yeah. It was a really good experience being a kid. It was really, really good.
How long did that band last once you'd done those tours?
We did that thing where we lasted quite a while. We did some great work. We supported Terraplane, who become Thunder. We supported, trying to go back in time now, Little Angels.
Right, where was that at?
Do you know what? I'd have to look. I'll have to get the book out.
Yeah.
But we did one gig with Little Angels. I'll find out where it is. But we did all this sort of stuff. What happened was we were kids and we were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's very combustible at that age. And then we ended up, the true story, end of this story is we split up. And then 2 weeks after splitting up, the manager phoned us and said, I've got you a deal. We've got you a deal with Power Station Records. And we were like, if you'll get back together, they'll have you. But we said, well, what if we get a different singer?
Right.
The singer could be problematic, let's put it that way. So they said, no, we want the singer, we want the lineup.
Oh, shit.
So we missed out, and the singer wouldn't do it. Even when we all said, let's bury that shit, let's put our big boy pants on and do this. He moved to America.
Yeah.
He became quite successul. Well, he ended up in one of the biggest Pink Floyd tribute bands. I only know this because of YouTube, and he hasn't got me on Facebook. It was one of those breakups.
What was the band after that? Was it a band called The Kick?
We were The Kick, and what happened then?
That looked very pop.
I got some Kick stuff sent to me the other week, and you'd love it. We had a keyboard player, and we were kind of sweet sounding, and I thought we were great. I thought we were very kind of in excess,
right?
A little more rock. We had a lot of interest. at one point. So we went on a while, and then me and the singer said we want to do something different. We'd done that a while, and we just wanted to do something a little bit more rock.
Yeah.
It's when, and this is the point where Extreme's big album, that's just when, at this point where this album's hit big. And we thought, Stu, you're pretty good at the funky stuff. It's time. And
so this is like 1991 kind of time, when all that kind of funk metal was starting to gain some popularity.
Dan Reed Network and all that, and I could slap a bass, and so it was easy job for me. We got together with a great guitar player called Dave Steele's, absolutely incredible. He lives in Spain now, and he works in a band over there, and great musician. Chris and myself we got in a room, and we knew we had something, and that just went like a rocket.
Yeah.
As it is in the music business, no matter how good you are, if the wave hits, you got to jump on, and you're on it. You're on the front of the wave, and we really were.
What was that other band around at that time? Was there a band called Vivid?
Yeah, a local band called Vivid. And another tie into Vivid is they were managed by Masquerade's Sue Porter, who got us the Jack Bruce thing.
And where were they from? Were they Midlands based?
I think they were. I have seen Vivid because they supported FM on a gig I was at once. But yeah, that was years later.
Yeah.
That's the tie in there, that they were managed by Masquerade's original our manager.
That whole style of music was very fucking...
It was massive. They had a great bass player, by the way, Vivid, whoever he was. He was amazing.
If you did that style well around that time, people would lap it.
Yeah, and we were at the front of the wave with all that.
And this is the Glory Boys, right?
Yeah, we did a showcase at Rock City before it opened for some labels and some management. And we got picked up by BMG. They said, look, lads, we want to do some stuff for you, want to develop you. So they got us a sponsorship with Yamaha. Yamaha hold this massive festival at the Budokan for the bands, some of the bands that they sponsor. So we were lucky enough to get onto that with Slaughter and Steve Salas from Steve Salas Colour Code. Well, this is when Simon Cowell worked for BMG, and he had his hand on a lot of the purse strings. And we met Simon Cowell a couple of times when he was the white suited guy. Yeah. We went to a party in London. And
where was your head at this time? You're saying this very matter of factly, but this stuff just don't happen anymore.
It don't happen anymore,
Whereas the band saying, we're fucking good, so this is what kind of happens.
Do you know what? We were good, and I'm not going to be big-headed, but we were good musicians. We knew we were onto something. And as you're with youth, you've got that unparalleled, non-stop fire in your belly. Yeah, we were just pushing and pushing. And the guitar player, it must be a guitar player thing, because Kev out of Blitz, who I'm in now, is exactly the same. Dave was known as the guy, you put him in the room with somebody, he would get something out of him, He'd be pushing him to the front of the fucking queue. Get him, Dave. Yeah. Story that I've just remembered, that when we played the Budokan, there was a party after, and Bruce Fairbairn was there. The guy who produced Pump, and Bruce Fairbairn did everything, didn't he, back in the day? Big name rock producer. And we were just pushing it. Get a deal, get Fairbairn to produce the album, Dave was a bit drunk at this party, so it didn't quite work out. But we were fearless, I think the word would have been. When you're younger, you are fearless.
So how did this whole trip to Japan come around then? You signed to BMG, you got sponsorship from Yamaha.
We played the Marquee Club. That was an interesting night. And they had different bands on each night. They had Atom Seed, if you remember, from way back in the day. They were on one night, and a little band called Manic Street Preachers. They did quite well for themselves. In the Glory Boys, at this point, we had a guy called Simon Negus, and he plays drum for Sabat, kind of hardcore thrash drummer, really great drummer. From Andy Sneap fame. Yeah. So we did this thing at the Marquee. It went out on BBC Two on this thing called Deaf 2. Gary Crowell introduced us. And he just because to show you how sticking to your guns and how times change. Because when he was asking us before we went on, he was saying, what kind of things influenced you? And we said, well, we love Queen. Queen's our major thing. We love Queen. And they were like, well, I won't hold that against you lads. Fucking hell, You're a bit young to be into that. And we really got loads of shit for it, Our singer gave him a little bit of crap back, which is perhaps not the correct thing to do at this point of your career. So when you watch the clip now when introducing us, here's a band from Nottingham called the Glory Boys. Their main influence is Queen, but we won't hold that against them, will we? And then he says, he sticks the knife in again and calls us a 5-piece, and we're a 4. This is not in no way sour grapes. This is just the way it happened, by the way. He got the cameraman to make it all blurry. And there's a lesson there to be learned, and that is, if you fuck with somebody, they will fuck with you at some point. It's
like getting off on a bad foot with the sound man before you've even played the gig.
It was. And so we did that. We played the Marquee, and then I think the night after we flew to Japan. Yeah, the day before my birthday.
So how long was the whole trip?
We were there for I think it was a couple of weeks.
Just did the one show?
We did the one show. We did some promotional stuff for some radio, Japanese radio stuff. They had to go in and do some promo. We did that, a lot of that, talking about Yamaha equipment a lot.
Yeah.
To be fair, they were great with us, and we made some really great friends. And it was a absolutely magical time. We hung out quite a bit with Steve Salis. He was a great guy. Mark Slaughter could be a little pointed.
Was it Slaughter the band playing?
Well, it was just Mark. At the end of the gig, we got up and jammed Get Back by the Beatles with him, and Mark Slaughter was doing his thing. And I think I annoyed him because we were out drinking one night, and being a Kiss fan, I kept saying, Vinnie Vincent, yeah, what's he like? When you're drunk. I don't drink now. I've not drunk for years, actually. That sounds a really boring thing to say, but I don't drink anymore.
How many of you went over? Was it just the band, or was you able to take anybody else?
It was just us four. Yeah, we had a great time. We still talk about it to this very day. Blitz say that they want a T-shirt that says, "Have I mentioned I've played the Budokan" on it?
How was the actual show?
It was amazing, mate.
Yeah.
It went out on Japanese TV. I could send you all that at some point.
Oh, I'd love to see him.
The Get Back thing that's on there.
Wow.
Japanese are just so good and just beautiful people, really. Fantastic people. The lighting rig, apparently, half of it belonged to Prince, and they were going to ship it out to Prince, which I wanted to know all about, being a big Prince fan. When we were setting the gear up, when you were setting the sound up on stage, the Japanese had like a see-through transparency template, and they put it over your controls. And when I was setting my bass sound, this guy's watching me, and he runs up with a marker and he marks where I've moved me. So when we come on, he can set it exactly to the setting. Just how good is that?
Yeah, proper looked after.
So yeah, they were really good. Yeah, we stopped in a place called the Grand Palace Hotel, and they knew about it. We had a great time.
So did that whole trip get you much traction on your return?
Well, it did, and we were doing amazing. And you know what happened next? Grunge. So what happened next was Mr. Cobain. And do you know what? I love Nirvana, and I love Pearl Jam, and a lot of those bands. And I just found it really sad that, a lot of bands who were influenced by the stuff that I loved when I was growing up, like Cheap Trick and Kiss, a lot of them bands love those kind of bands. But what we were doing was just, your hair's too big. Well, I love to say that now. Your hair's too big, and your music's too blasé. It's too and all that. Along with us, Extreme and Dan Reed, and I think that's really sad that happened, because there were a lot of bands that deserved, not just us, but there were a lot of bands that deserved to break, and they were just dropped. From Teen Spirit in to us was like 2 weeks. We were in Chapel Studios in Lincolnshire recording with no bill at the end of it, to like, lads, we're going to have to have a discussion. And, we knew we were big boys at this point. We knew that, the wave had come and it had gone,
How was it presented to you, though, from the label? Did they try and get you to change your sound?
They booked us in a studio, and we did 4 songs of where we thought we should be going. And I've still got those tapes. And it just wasn't us. It just wasn't us, mate. It wasn't us. We were like multi-harmonies, and we were like, that would have been as much of a lie to make out we were, that wasn't who we were. So we had to kind of look each other in the eye and move on.
Yeah.
This is not going to happen. So the band split, and that's where we still remain friends to this day. We're all 4 of us are still friends, but things moved on. We all did different projects, and we moved on.
Where was your head at the time?
I don't know. At that point, I just had my first chat with my wife.
Probably the timing was just right then, really.
Yeah, let's slow things down.
Yeah.
So I did. I had a couple of years off. I had to think about things, and I to jump into the real world. And as my wife pointed out to me, you can't live like a fucking gypsy all your life. You need to start getting paid. I mean, you know what the music business is like. You can make a little bit of money, but if you don't love this thing and you don't genuinely love it, I think a lot of people think, that you're raking it in, and I don't know anybody, unless even people on the deep end aren't really raking it in now. It's not certainly like that anymore. You've got to have a passion for it. You've got to love it, and you've got to accept, sometimes it's like being an out-of-work actor.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
I think that's quite cool, really, that everything happened, let's say real life stuff happened, kind of coincide around that time.
Yeah.
I didn't get to know you until like early 2000s when I saw you in the Plastics.
Yeah, we did some gigs with you and Rob and Teenage Casket back then.
Well, I actually saw you at the old Vic. That was the first time I saw you guys.
Oh, I love that gig, yeah.
Was that supporting Bubble? I don't know if it was Bubble or not.
Yeah, that was Bubble and Nutrijet. And you know what? And I can say this, hand on my heart, what was really great about all that experience was I'm really good friends with Bam from Dogs D'Amour.
Yeah.
And he's such a lovely, lovely bloke. And Cher, his wife, who was in Vixen, they're just the sweetest, most honest, no bullshit people you'll ever
I mean,
meet.
that was a freaking super group lineup, wasn't it?
It was great. I love Bubble. Yeah, but I speak to Bab all the time still now. When I'm writing now, even for Blitz, I send him stuff. What do you think, mate? And well, mate, I love Bam. He's just, he's a real geezer, and I love him. I just love him, and he's really straight up guy. Yeah, I love him.
So how did you approach the plastics then? Because that went straight back to the theatrical makeup, all three of you, and that was kind of a strange time for music. Really, hard rock was trying to make a comeback in a way.
It was trying to fit in. I mean, you'll remember that scene because we were both on that scene, and you remember Crash Kelly. Mm-hmm. We did some gigs. I think you did use some gigs with Crash Kelly as well.
I don't know if I actually did any gigs. I was at all those gigs though.
Enough's enough. We're over here. We did some gigs with those. I think you did as well, and Bubble, of course, and Rachel Stamp. We did some gigs with Rachel Stamp. Blaze Bailey, believe it or not.
Yeah.
A band that we got on really, really well with, a Canadian band that they were kind of a bit kind of punky, offspringy, and they had two guys playing bagpipes they were called the Mudmen.
That was the very first Teenage Casket Company gig.
Yeah, really? I bet I've got the flyer under my bed somewhere.
Yeah, that was our very first gig. They were great, man. Should not have worked, but it did.
Yeah, they were great, and I wanted really good things for them. But again, the music business was a bit crazy, and I can't really I fault a lot of the things that I did with Plastics. I got to go out with Pretty Boy Floyd, and I got to go out with Love 8, and we did a lot of that stuff.
What kind of headspace was you going into that in? Was you like, right, this is the next big thing, we're going to push this as hard as we can?
I just wanted to do something a bit grittier and a bit, it's just where it went, really. It's just where it went with that band. There were a time we were great. We really were. We're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Like most things, we do it for a certain amount of time, and then
it's that glass ceiling kind of thing. That's the main
thing.
Yeah,
you do it, and then you come to a point where we just did everything we could do, and then we thought, let's move on.
So to bring things right up to date, when did you decide, or how did Blitz come about?
I used to rehearse at Nottingham with another band, and that's where I met Kev, which is our lead guitar player, and he had a big Ace Frehley solo album tattoo on his arm.
Yeah.
I asked him, are you a Kiss fan? And he said, yeah. And we got chatting, and I said, I love Kiss and Cheap Trick. I grew up with all that stuff. And he's a big Queen fan as well. I said, I love Queen. And why don't we get together and do some writing? So he's got a little demo studio. So we got together and started writing stuff, and we just got on really well. And he's a really easy guy to work with, a real fun guy to be around. And that's what I needed, really. So we got a drummer. We've got Matt Davis, who I work in social services, and he works in social services. And I knew he was a drummer, and he was in like a real hardcore.
Yeah.
I knew he was great. I knew he was a great drummer. So we ended up in a rehearsal room together, and just from the minute, it's one of them things, and the minute we cranked in, I said, I'm enjoying this. I'm loving this.
I mean, it sounds fucking great. It's like unashamedly 80s hard-edged melodic rock.
Yeah, we just wanted to push all the stuff that we love into it. And we're not trying to be cutting edge, or we're not trying to be... I've got a son, actually, who's in a band called Avery, and they really are cutting edging. They do all that, but they get exactly what we're about. My son plays bass and sings as well.
What bass players is he into?
What bass player? He kind of grew up with the whole Deftones.
Strings hanging off the bass because it's so low-tuned.
He loves all that. Check them out, they're quite melodic. It's all that kind of thing. But they're really, really accomplished at it. They're really good at it. I'm a bit biased, he's my boy, but he's good at it. He's a good bass player. He's had a good teacher. But he's a really good... he plays bass and sings, which is freaky. And what I was going to say was the lads in Avery, totally, they get what we're about, We're not trying to tell you we're pretending to be this. What we want to be is really entertaining, and we want to write some damn fine catchy songs, and we want to see where it goes. And that's the whole thing with Blitz. Where we recorded the last two albums is a place called Axis Studios at Doncaster. The guy who produced it is a guy called Matt Ellis, and he's worked with Massive Wagons and the Black Spiders. Absolutely top-notch studio, really knows his stuff. And the last thing we've just recorded, we were really lucky. We had this crazy idea to record a Christmas song. We had this idea years ago, but we was like, every time we went to do it, we kind of went, we're going to get some jip for this, Christmas song. As if we don't feed people enough cheese. But it's Christmas time. It's the time for cheese and crackers. So we thought, we'd do it. So we went into Matt Ellis's place, and we just timed it right because lockdown hit just after. So we were lucky enough to get in before all this craziness began. And we did this Christmas song, and we wanted it to be more like Slade, and still be us. We wanted it to be us. And I've always thought Blitz, a modern version of Slade is where I'd love to take it. Yeah, that's where I'd love to take it. And so we did this song. We're pretty proud of it. And my wife's going through chemotherapy at the moment for a thing called follicular lymphoma, which is a form of cancer. So we thought we'd donate everything to cancer research. We're putting all that together for that, you know. So, yeah, I'm still doing it. I'm still loving it against the odds, you know. Anybody else with any common sense would have just stopped doing this shit years ago.
What keeps that fire going?
Do you know what? I don't know. You know, it's a weird world at the minute, and as corny as it sounds, it just makes my heart beat. You know, I love it. You know, I just love it.
Is it the live thing or just music in general?
I just love being around musicians, which, as you know, are their own breed. It's a weird world now because you've got the whole Facebook thing, and you know, you'll get 5 million likes for, you know, showing a turtle, you know, with a star painted on its nose or something. But you know, you put out your best artistic endeavor, and everybody will, hey, what's that? Yeah, you've really got, what I'm trying to say is you've got to work really hard at the social media thing, and you've got to kind of push that, you know. We are we're not self-managed. We work with our management's called Forge Management. We do a lot of stuff with Forge, but we've always been self-managed prior to that because, you know, we've been around the block. We know what we want.
Yeah.
It's been a big block.
Do you ever still drop Destroyer on the turntable?
I
it
do.
Takes you straight back.
And you know what? You really got to push yourself. As my son often tells me, you know, you got to push yourself and open your horizons because if you don't, you're going to get stuck in a rut, aren't you?
Yeah.
So there's some absolutely great bands out there. Not that they're a new band, but there's a band from LA called Vintage Trouble, and they do like soul kind of rock stuff. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I saw them quite a while ago on Jules Holland. I say this out loud. The singer Ty Taylor is probably the best rock frontman that isn't in a rock band.
Yeah.
He's just incredible. I've been to see those about 4 or 5 times and mind blowing. Check out Vintage Trouble. They're really, really good. They're a hard-working band. And they're a real band as well, you know. And he's just got this whole Otis Redding meets James Brown meets some possessed rock singer thing going on. Just awesome. So I love Vintage Trouble. I listen to everything, you know. I mean, I was listening to, and it's, again, it's not a new act, but I was listening to Bruce Springsteen, the last album, but the one before that called Western Stars. And that's just the songwriting on there is just so pure and brilliant, you know. So I listen to everything, literally everything, you know. I'll take anything on board. I think everybody should be like that, you know. What can happen with rock music? It can be a little bit elitist and you can say, well, that was preposterous and how silly is that? It's like Kiss, you know. Kiss are just hamburger rock. If you want something substantial, don't listen to Kiss, for God's sake, you know. It's just, you know, sometimes you want a really nice 4-course meal and sometimes you want a hamburger. So Kiss are the hamburger. You know, if I want a 4-course meal, I listen to Julian Breen playing classic guitar for an hour.
What do you think the next chapter in Kiss history is going to be?
I think they're getting near the end. They know it. And I think I just love for them to go out with a bit of... I mean, I saw them on the last tour before this one. I did the meet and greet thing. Yeah. And I've met Kiss twice. I met them when I was a kid. They did a promo thing in London at Virgin Records for Creatures of the Night, and it was Ace Frehley, Eric Carr, Paul Stanley, and Gene Simmons. And I've got all the autographs and everything.
So was they all make-upped up then, or was it kind of just in that weird crossover period?
They were in the Creatures of the Night gear.
Yeah.
I got all the autographs. I took loads of photos.
Would you go down on the bus or the train or something?
My oldest brother drove. And there were 4 of us. So we went down there and we all stood outside Oxford Street and it was closed off. I mean, how did this not make the news apart from it was rock music, you know? They closed Oxford and we were just like in this record shop screaming and shouting. It was just so great. It was such a great...
How many people was there? Was it fucking...
It was rammed. It was rammed, mate, honestly. And I got the autographs, took loads of photos. And when I got back, because, you know, all you had back then was like some crappy Instamatic camera.
Yeah.
And I got them back and I had like my shoe, my boot, the top of some hair. You know, they're all rubbish. So I did on the last tour. I paid for the meet and greet because I never got the photo the first time around. Me and my wife did the meet and greet on the last, and we're really glad we did.
Yeah,
you know, I don't think that's something they're going to be doing for a while.
What do you think of the thing where they're saying they might hand it down to like a different band?
Do you know what? If it's interesting and if it's good, I say yeah. And I don't know if you ever saw the thing a while ago with Foo Fighters, where there was some guy who had Gene Simmons makeup on and he got up on stage and he played guitar.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that, but he was great. You imagine Kiss with that much energy now.
Yeah.
So if they want to take some young guys and they want to do it, but I think it's got to be done right. If it's got energy and it's cool, then why not, you know? Who cares? You know, I think what people forget when AC/DC are gone and Kiss are gone and Ozzy's gone, you know, we do need some other touch points. We need some bands out there, you know, selling it to the kids again, you know? I want younger kids to experience what I experienced as a kid and not to feel that they have to listen to a lot of the stuff that's the force fed now. No, there's a lot of great rock music out there if you're prepared to look for it. Again, and let's not be elitist. You can listen to thrash metal. I can listen to Megadeth and I can listen to I Know He Rocks. Nobody's going to tell me what to listen to. And that's the way it should be.
Always.
Don't want to put my mascara on and mosh, I will.
Dude, thank you ever so much for this. I've really enjoyed catching up with you, mate.
It's great seeing you again.
Good luck with the new Christmas charity single. I shall be sure to put all the links to it and hopefully get people to check it out.
If people would check out the Blitz, our Facebook page and our Bandcamp, and you can see what we're all about.
Lots of fun. It's all good fun, man. It's all good fun.
If people did that would be great.
Nice one, mate. Well, you look after yourself.
Same to you, my friend. Well, hopefully next time we'll have a beer in around, yeah? See you later.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and Santa's elves screamed, "Turn up those guitars and live your rock and roll dreams."
I believe in Christmas, and just like the snowman said, never trust an elf with a flamethrower at your head.
I sure hope you're all feeling extra Christmassy after that, and thanks so much to my good friend Stuart Corden for checking in with me on the Straight to Video podcast and sharing all his fun stories about his musical journey. Please drop by the Blitz Facebook page at Blitz Rock Band UK and share the new Christmas song I Believe in Christmas, and if you can, please drop a small donation to cancer research. I know it'll mean a lot to Stu and the rest of the Blitz team. Thank you to all of you for continuing to support this podcast. Please continue with all the likes, shares and follows. And if you do listen through Apple Podcasts, please give me a couple of minutes of your time and possibly leave a rating or review. Stuff like that really helps grow things outside our cool little bubble. So until I catch you again, please stay safe out there and we'll speak real soon.